27 years ago, a whole class of kids vanished on a school trip in the little town of Sunny Hill. They disappeared without a clue, leaving their families super sad. Cops thought the guy teacher who vanished to might be the bad guy, but with no kids found and no hints to follow, the case got super old. Greater than still, one mom never stopped hoping her daughter was out there somewhere. Greater than one day, while looking at old pictures, she saw something everyone missed. That tiny thing changed the whole case and shocked everybody big time. Before we jump into this wild story, tell us where you're watching from. And if you like this, hit that subscribe button, okay? Greater than Emma Wilson woke up on September 28, 2023, feeling super heavy. The gray, cloudy sky outside her window matched her sad vibes. She was ready for this day, but the sadness was still super strong. Greater that it was exactly 27 years since her daughter Lily went missing. Emma got out of bed slowly and walked to her dresser. A close-up picture of Lily in her school uniform hung on the mirror. Emma picked up the photo, her eyes getting all teary. She stared at Lily's happy face, feeling so emotional. "Oh, Lily," she whispered, her voice all shaky. But Emma took a big breath to push away the big sadness. She'd been through tough times for 27 years and had to stay tough. After washing her face and getting dressed, Emma checked her phone. There was a text from her best friend Sophie Brown. "Greater than you're not alone. We all remember. Come over if you need me." Greater than Sophie was also a mom of one of the missing kids. Emma felt a little better knowing she wasn't the only sad one. She texted Sophie back asking if she could come over now. Sophie replied right away, saying, "Come on over." Before leaving, Emma went to the kitchen and grabbed some stuff. She took chamomile tea packets and a jar of cookies. Showing up at her friend's house with nothing felt weird. As Emma walked to Sophie's house, she thought about being lonely. She'd lost her husband, and Sophie really got how she felt. Sophie was one of the few who stuck by her through the worst days. The streets were quiet as Emma walked the familiar path. The houses looked almost the same as 27 years ago, but Emma's life, totally different now. Greater than as she got close to Sophie's house, just a few blocks away, the door opened. Sophie smiled warmly and gave Emma a big, cozy hug. "Come in, girl," she said softly, leading Emma inside. Greater than Emma handed Sophie the cookies and tea as they went to the kitchen. Sophie started boiling water for tea while Emma sat on the sofa. Being in Sophie's familiar house felt a tiny bit comforting. Greater than while waiting for the water, Sophie looked at Emma and asked gently, "Greater than how you holding up?" Emma sighed, looking down. "I'm trying, you know how it is. Greater than this day's always the worst," she said, thinking hard. Greater than even though I deal with it, the past still bugs me, especially today. Greater than Sophie nodded. "Same here," she said. "I finished therapy last year, and I try not to think about the what-ifs. Greater than but this day, it's rough. Maybe I need therapy again." Greater than the kettle whistled, and Sophie poured hot water into 2 cups. She brought them to the coffee table by the sofa. The sweet smell of chamomile tea made the air feel calmer. It was a small break from their shared sadness. As they sipped tea, Emma was glad Sophie was there. Greater than they'd gotten super close because of their sad story. Greater than they helped each other when no one else really got it. Greater than the sadness was heavy, but they felt stronger together. Sophie put her teacup down and smiled softly at Emma. "My therapist said something cool," she said. "We gotta face our pain and let it be part of us, not hide it." Greater than Sophie thought for a second. "Maybe we could look at old pictures together." Greater than only if you're okay with it, of course. Greater than Emma sipped her tea, feeling the warmth. After a bit, she nodded. "I think that could be nice," she said quietly. Sophie got up and grabbed a photo album from the TV stand. She sat next to Emma and put the album between them. As they flipped through it, tons of memories came back. The pictures showed happy times, first school days, birthdays, picnics. Emma and Sophie shared stories, laughing and crying a bit. "Remember when Lily and Mia started at that school?" Emma asked. She pointed to a picture of the 2 girls in uniforms. Sophie smiled sadly. 5th grade, right? Greater than the school was pretty new, only open for 2 years. Greater than yup, Emma said. The class was tiny at first, just 6 kids. But by the end of the year, it was 15 inches. They worked hard to get parents to join. With cheap fees, Sophie said. They kept looking through the album. Then Emma saw a picture she didn't know. It showed Lily, Mia, and other kids at a science fair. Greater than the kids looked so excited, not knowing what was coming. This picture's awesome, Emma said, almost whispering. Greater than, where'd you get it? Sophie looked at it. The cops gave it to me a few months ago. Greater than, since the case is old. They let parents get copies of stuff. Greater than, Emma was shocked. I didn't know we could do that. Greater than, if I knew, I would have asked for copies. 2. Greater than, Sophie smiled sadly. Maybe it's better you didn't. Greater than, having all this stuff makes it harder to move on. Greater than, that's why I needed therapy. I stayed up late looking for clues. As they kept looking, Emma found another new picture. It was a class photo in front of a yellow school bus. The bus that took the kids on that awful trip. Emma stared at it, looking at every face. Suddenly, she saw something that made her heart jump. Why's Principal Nancy Green in this picture? She said, confused. Greater than, I thought Mr. Carter, the teacher, went alone with one helper. Greater than, Sophie leaned in to look closer. I'm not sure, she said, thinking. Some parents said the helper was the principal, but I didn't think much of it. Greater than, Emma felt like something was wrong. All these years, she thought it was just the teacher and a helper. Seeing the principal in the picture made her wonder stuff. As Emma was about to say more, Sophie touched her arm gently. Emma, she said softly, I know that. Look, we've thought we found big clues a ton of times before. It's not good to hold on to fake hope. Greater than, Emma wanted to argue that this could be a big deal, but she saw Sophie's worried face and took a deep breath. You're right, she said, but she still felt unsure. Sophie smiled kindly and looked back at the album. Greater than, see, she said, pointing at the bus. This was probably taken at school. Greater than, that's why the principal was there. Emma nodded, but she wasn't totally sure. She looked at the clock and saw it was getting late. Sophie, I gotta go, she said, standing up. I want to visit Lily's grave, bring flowers, and clean it up. I do it every year, you know. Greater than, Sophie nodded. I get it. Want me to come? Greater than, Mia's grave is nearby. Greater than, Emma saw Sophie wasn't sure about going. Greater than, thanks. But I know you like going with James later. I'll be okay. Greater than, as Emma got ready to leave, she stopped and turned to Sophie. Can I take that bus picture with me? Greater than, Sophie thought for a second, then nodded. Sure, but Emma, promise you won't let this take over. We can't go down that crazy path again. Greater than, Emma said she'd be careful. But as she left Sophie's house, she felt something big. The picture of Principal Nancy Green with the kids stuck in her head. It didn't match what she'd been told for 27 years. Greater than, as she waited for the bus to town to buy flowers, Emma felt torn. She wanted to find the truth, but was scared of old pain coming back. Greater than, the sky got darker, like it might rain, matching her stormy feelings. She hoped the rain would wait until she was done at the cemetery. She wanted to honor Lily's memory and peace. Emma sat on the bus, thinking hard as it drove through familiar streets. Greater than, she held the picture, staring at Lily and her classmates, frozen in time. Greater than, the more she looked, the more questions popped up. Sophie's warning about fake hope echoed in her head. But Emma couldn't shake the feeling something was off. Why did some parents think the principal was on the trip? Others, like her, thought it was just the teacher and a helper. Emma was a super involved mom, going to all school meetings. She even went to court when parents tried to get justice. How did she miss something so important? Emma hesitated, then pulled out her phone. She had the cop's number saved from years ago. She wasn't sure if he'd remember her or want to talk. Her stomach felt tight, but she decided to call anyway. Greater than, she looked around the quiet bus, with old seats and dim lights. Outside, the streets zoomed by. She took a breath and dialed, holding the phone tight. Greater than, the first call didn't go through. She tried again. Nothing. Just a boring voicemail. Greater than, Emma's fingers hovered over the phone, wondering if she should leave a message. What would she say? "Hi, it's me from years ago. I need help." It felt silly. She ended the call and put her phone away. The bus stopped, and Emma looked out. She saw a place she knew near the principal's house. Seeing the old neighborhood gave her chills, bringing back memories. Without thinking, she stood up as the bus doors were closing. Greater than she hit the bell and got off. Saying sorry to the driver, standing on the sidewalk, Emma felt dumb. She didn't know if the principal was home or still lived there. She kinda remembered the street, but not the exact house. She checked the bus stop schedule. The next bus was in 20 minutes. "Well," she mumbled, "might as well try since I'm here." Emma walked down the street, looking for something familiar. The neighborhood had changed. Some houses were new, some old. Greater than after a bit, she stopped at a house that felt right. She looked at it. The garden was neat with pretty flowers. A car was in the driveway, but Emma wasn't sure if it was the principal's. Emma realized she barely talked to Principal Nancy Green before. There was the day the kids vanished when the principal said sorry. Greater than, and once when Emma and other parents protested at her house. They also talked at the police station years ago. But that was it. Emma took a deep breath and knocked on the door. Her heart was pounding, but no one answered. Just as she was about to leave, feeling silly, she saw two women walking nearby. Greater than one was young, maybe in her 30s, and the other was older, like Emma. As they walked toward the house, Emma saw the older woman's face. It was Principal Nancy Green, even though she looked older now. The principal didn't know Emma at first. She looked polite, but curious. "Greater than, can I help you?" she asked, her voice nice but careful. Greater than. Emma swallowed hard, feeling nervous. "I'm Emma Wilson," she said. She watched as the principal realized who she was. Principal Green froze, looking a bit shaky. "Greater than, oh, Mrs. Wilson," she stammered. "Just a second." Greater than. She turned to the younger woman, telling her to go inside. Greater than. "Go get comfy. I'll be right there," she said, fumbling with her keys. As the principal opened the door, Emma's mind raced. She knew the principal had no kids. So who was this woman? Was she interrupting something important? Once the younger woman was inside, Principal Green followed. Emma saw her turn on the house lights. Emma stepped closer to the doorway, waiting. She wondered if she should call out or just wait. After a minute, she got impatient. The house was super quiet. Greater than. She could barely hear soft voices far away. Greater than. Emma knocked again. Even though the door was a bit open, footsteps came fast, and the door opened wide. Principal Green rushed out, wiping her hands on her shirt. "Sorry for the wait," she said, laughing a little. "Greater than, your name sounds familiar, but I can't place it." Greater than. Emma took a deep breath. "I'm Lily Wilson's mom," she said. She watched the principal closely. "My daughter was in the 5th grade, class of 1996. She vanished on the trip." The principal's face went pale, and her smile faded. Greater than. Emma noticed how nervous she looked, glancing at the woman inside. Through the half-open door, Emma saw the younger woman standing there. She wasn't talking, but seemed to be watching and listening. Principal Green cleared her throat, trying to act calm. "Greater than, Mrs. Wilson, I'm not the principal anymore," she said. "I retired early years ago." "Why are you here?" Emma paused, then decided to be straight. "I have a question about the school trip day," she said. "Sorry for just showing up. I was nearby and thought of it. Greater than, I won't take long. I promise." Greater than. The principal looked at the woman inside, then back at Emma. "Okay," she said, not sounding happy, "but I can't talk long." Greater than. "I have a guest waiting." Greater than. Emma nodded and pulled the class picture from her purse. She showed it to Principal Green. "This picture," Emma started. "Was it taken at school or on the trip?" Principal Green looked at it, thinking hard. "I think it was during," she said, then changed her mind. Greater than. No, it was in the school parking lot." Greater than. Emma's heart skipped at the principal's quick change. She asked, "Were you on the trip that day?" Greater than. The principal's eyes got a bit wide, and she shook her head. Greater than. "No, I stayed at school," she said. Greater than. "Mr. Carter, the teacher, and an admin staff went. I was supposed to go, But something important came up. Greater than Emma nodded, thinking about what she'd always heard. But something still felt weird. She decided to ask one more thing, hoping it wasn't too much. Last question if it's okay, she said. Did you notice anything weird about Mr. Carter that day? Principal Green got a bit mad. Greater than no, Mrs. Wilson, she said, sounding annoyed. I told the cops everything a million times. I never thought Mr. Carter could do something bad. Greater than she softened a bit. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Greater than it was sad for me too, and I've moved on. Greater than Emma felt bad for upsetting her. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I get it. Greater than I just can't believe my daughter vanished like that. Greater than to her surprise, Emma's eyes got teary. I hoped maybe you'd know something after all this time. Emma grabbed a tissue from her purse and wiped her eyes. As she looked up, she saw the younger woman watching closely. Greater than the woman looked curious and a bit worried. Principal Green's face softened more. Greater than I know your pain, Mrs. Wilson, she said. It's why I retired early. The school reminded me of the sadness. She paused, then gave Emma a quick hug. Greater than I know today's 27 years. Other parents have come by too. Greater than Emma was surprised by the principal's sudden kindness. She put the picture back in her purse. Thanks for your time, she said with a small smile. Sorry for taking up your afternoon. As Emma turned to leave, she still felt something was off. Greater than the principal's hesitation. The mystery woman and her weird answers bugged her. But maybe she was just thinking too much. Sophie was right, she couldn't get lost in fake hope again. Walking to the bus stop, Emma's mind was all over the place. Rain started falling, matching her sad mood. At the bus stop, she pulled out her phone, thinking about calling the cop again. But before she could decide, the bus showed up. She got on and sat by the window, holding the picture tight. Greater than rain hit the glass as the bus drove off. Greater than the wind calmed down. But Emma's thoughts didn't. Talking to Principal Green left her with more questions. She couldn't shake the feeling something wasn't right. As the bus drove through wet streets, Emma sighed. She checked her phone, hoping for a message. But nothing, no reply from the cop. Her stop came, and she got off in the light rain. The flower shop was close, with bright flowers in the gray day. As she got near, Emma stopped under a shop's cover, hoping the rain would stop. She thought about calling the cop again. Would it even help? After talking to the principal, she doubted it. With a sigh, she put her phone away. Maybe Sophie was right, maybe she was just hurting herself. But the young woman at Principal Green's house and her nervous vibe stuck with Emma. Something about it felt wrong. Emma decided she'd waited long enough. She took a deep breath and ran to the flower shop, holding her purse over her head. The cold rain got her wet, but she didn't care. She just had to cross the street. A little water was fine. Inside the shop, a bell rang as she opened the door. The warm, flowery smell was so nice after the cold rain. Mrs. Wilson, the florist said, knowing her. Greater than I wondered if you'd come today. Emma smiled a little. Hey, Clara. I need my usual order. Greater than as Clara got the flowers for Lily's grave, Emma looked around. There weren't as many flowers as before, and she felt a bit sad. Clara noticed and said, Sorry, we don't have much this year. The weather's been crazy, and it messed up our flowers. Greater than Emma nodded. It's okay, Clara. We'll make something pretty for Lily. Greater than as Clara kept picking flowers, the bell rang again. Emma turned and saw Sophie and her husband James walking. They looked at Emma, surprised, then worried. Emma, Sophie said, coming over. I thought you'd get flowers earlier. Everything okay? Greater than Emma wasn't sure how much to say about seeing Principal Green. I got a bit sidetracked. She said finally, Greater than good to see you both, though. Greater than. James shook Emma's hand. Good to see you too, Emma. Greater than how you doing? Greater than before Emma could answer. Clara came back with flowers. Here you go, Mrs. Wilson. Want to arrange them yourself? Emma nodded, glad for something to do. Yes, thanks, Clara. Greater than as Emma started arranging the flowers, picking each one carefully. Sophie and James picked flowers for Mia's grave. The shop was quiet, just soft paper sounds and a little Talking, Emma's mind wandered as she worked, thinking about Principal Green. Should she tell Sophie? Would she get it? Or think Emma's crazy? As Emma tied a ribbon on her bouquet, she looked at Sophie. Sophie was watching her with a kind but worried look. "That's so pretty, Emma," Sophie said softly. Greater than Lily would have loved it. Greater than Emma's eyes got teary hearing Lily's name. "Greater than thanks," she said quietly. "I hope so." Greater than they went to the counter to pay for their flowers. As Clara wrapped Sophie's bouquet, Emma looked at her friend. Sophie looked sad but calm, and Emma wished she felt that way. "Greater than Sophie," Emma said suddenly, "I gotta tell you something." Sophie turned, curious and a bit worried. "What's up?" Emma took a deep breath. "After I left your place, I went to see Principal Green." Greater than Sophie's eyes got big. "You did what? Why?" Greater than before Emma could say more, Clara gave them their flowers. "Here you go, ladies. Hope these help today." Emma and Sophie thanked her and started to leave. Emma felt Sophie's curious stare, knowing she owed an explanation, but she wasn't sure how to say it without sounding nuts. Outside, the rain stopped and the air smelled fresh. Greater than James said, "Let's all go to the cemetery together." Greater than Emma nodded, agreeing. As they walked to James's car, Emma knew she had to tell Sophie, but part of her wondered if she was ready to dig up old stuff. In James's car, the air was full of unsaid questions. Greater than Sophie turned to Emma. "Why'd you go to Principal Green's?" Greater than what were you looking for? Greater than Emma held her flowers tight and took a deep breath. She had to be careful with her words. "I couldn't stop thinking about that bus picture," she said. Sophie frowned. "The one we saw earlier? What about it?" Greater than I asked her about it, and she said it was taken at school before the trip. Greater than but Sophie, she first said during, then changed to before. Weird, right? It felt like she was hiding something, Emma said, getting excited. James looked at Emma in the mirror, staying calm. Greater than Emma, it's been 27 years. People forget stuff, especially sad stuff. Greater than Emma nodded. "I know, but there was more." Greater than when I got to her house, there was a young woman there. I never saw her before, and the principal acted nervous, like she didn't want her to hear us. Greater than Sophie and James looked at each other, unsure. After a quiet moment, Sophie spoke gently but firmly. Greater than Emma, "I get wanting answers, I really do." Greater than but we've done this before. Remember 3 years ago? Greater than you thought the bus driver was linked to that Oregon case. Emma felt her face get hot, remembering her mistake. Greater than she'd spent weeks sure she found a clue. But it was nothing. Greater than this is different, she said, maybe convincing herself too. The car got quiet as they drove to the cemetery. Emma looked out the window, seeing the town turn to fields. Greater than the sky was clearing, with bits of blue showing. As they got to the cemetery gates, James spoke. Greater than Emma, we care about you. We don't want you hurt by fake hope. Greater than Emma nodded, her throat tight. I know, she said softly. I just can't help feeling Lily, Mia, and the others deserve more. They deserve the truth. Greater than Sophie squeezed Emma's hand. They do, she agreed. Greater than but sometimes we gotta live with not knowing everything. Greater than James parked, and Emma felt all kinds of feelings. Sadness, hope, and now a new feeling of wanting to keep going. She knew her friends meant well, but Principal Green's talk opened something. They got out into the cool, wet air, smelling like fresh dirt. The rain stopped, leaving a quiet, almost spooky calm. Their steps were soft on the wet ground as they walked to Lily and Mia's graves. The graves weren't side by side, but close, a small comfort. Emma and Sophie picked them to be near each other. Emma went to Lily's grave first. Her heart heavy, she knelt and put the flowers down gently. The bright petals looked nice against the gray stone. She touched Lily's name, feeling each letter. Greater than it hurt that the grave was empty, with no body. They needed a place to feel their sadness, but it wasn't enough. The empty grave was a reminder of what they didn't know. Emma sighed and pulled out the worn picture. She looked at Lily's face, her fingers touching it softly. Her heart hurt as she remembered Lily's laugh, how she'd pull Emma's sleeve for attention. greater than the last time Emma kissed her goodbye. Tears fell, and Emma let herself cry hard. She didn't stop the sobs, letting them out. After a while, when the sadness eased a bit, Emma wiped her tears. She stood slowly and turned to Sophie and James, greater than they were at Mia's grave, looking sad too. Emma took a deep breath, ready to join them, greater than, but then something caught her eye, and she stopped. Near the kids' graves, she saw a familiar person. Greater than, it was the young woman from Principal Green's house. She wasn't just walking by, she was standing, looking at a grave. Her hands were together, like she was thinking quietly. Greater than, Emma's heart beat faster. Was this a coincidence? Putting her sadness aside, Emma watched the woman. She was by the graves of the missing kids. Many families picked this cemetery, the only one close. Greater than, Emma's heart raced, and she didn't think twice. She touched Sophie's arm and whispered, "I'll be right back." Before Sophie or James could say anything, Emma walked fast to the woman. As she got closer, she saw the woman was crying, her shoulders shaking. "Excuse me," Emma said softly, not wanting to scare her. Greater than, the woman turned, looking surprised and scared when she saw Emma. She wiped her tears fast, trying to act okay. "We meet again," Emma said, keeping her eyes steady. "I think I saw you at Principal Nancy's house earlier." The woman looked down, shifting nervously. She seemed like she wanted to run away. "Greater than, sorry," Emma said quickly. "I don't mean to bother you." Greater than, the woman let out a soft breath and shook her head. "It's okay," she said quietly, almost whispering. "Greater than, I come here every year on this day to feel sad." Greater than, Emma nodded. "I do too, but I usually come early." Greater than, today, I was late, she said, checking her watch. It was 4 p.m. They stood quietly, the air heavy with unsaid stuff. Greater than, then Emma asked gently, "Who are you sad for? Were you related to one of the kids who went missing 27 years ago?" Greater than, the woman paused, her lips moving like she might say something. Greater than, then she nodded slowly, like she didn't want to. Emma saw she was uneasy and didn't push, but as she looked at the grave, she saw a small framed picture. The photo was old and blurry, but Emma saw a young girl's face. The woman saw Emma looking and grabbed the picture fast. She held it tight to her chest. "Sorry," Emma said softly. "I didn't mean to snoop." She looked at the woman's eyes, understanding. Greater than, you must really miss your sister. I know that feeling. Emma stepped back, ready to leave, not wanting to upset her more. But the woman called out, her voice shaky but strong. "Greater than, wait," she said. Emma stopped and looked back. "Why were you at Principal Nancy's house earlier?" the woman asked. The question surprised Emma. She turned to face her. There was more than curiosity in the woman's eyes, something careful. "I was asking about the school trip day," Emma said. "I wanted to know if she was there when the kids left or went with them." Emma pulled out the crinkled picture Sophie showed her. She held it out to the woman. "My friend Sophie," Emma nodded toward Sophie and James, "showed me this picture today. I never saw it before, and it confused me." Greater than, I didn't remember Principal Nancy being there that day. The woman looked at the picture, holding her own photo tight. Greater than, Emma sighed. "Principal Nancy said it was taken at school before the trip." Greater than, she stopped, not sure how to say more. The woman stared at the picture, her face changing. She laughed a little, but it sounded sad. Then, as she looked at one face, tears fell down her cheeks. She whispered, "Lily was such a goof." Her voice was soft, full of love and sadness. Emma's ears perked up. "Did you know Lily?" she asked, excited. The woman looked surprised, like she didn't mean to say that. She gave the picture back to Emma, her hands shaking. "Greater than, I'm Lily's mom," Emma said, her voice steady despite her feelings. "Do you know something about Lily?" The woman froze, looking scared, like Emma trapped her. Emma got confused as she saw the woman's eyes glance at her photo. The woman looked so much like the girl in the frame. It was spooky. "Who are you?" Emma asked slowly, carefully. "Are you this girl?" She pointed to the photo, her heart racing. The woman said, "No," fast, but her scared voice made it seem untrue. "It's okay," Emma said softly, stepping closer. "You don't gotta be scared. Are you one of the kids who made it?" The woman shook her head fast, panic in her eyes. But her quick no made Emma think she was hiding something. "I think you're wrong. That's not me," the woman said. But Emma saw she was struggling inside. "Greater than no," Emma said kindly but firmly. "It's totally you." The woman's shoulders dropped, like she gave up. "You don't want to know who I am," she whispered. "It's better for everybody if you don't." Greater than Emma begged, feeling desperate. "Please." Greater than I've never understood why my daughter disappeared. It's been killing me. I come here every year for her. The pain gets better, but this day brings it all back. Greater than it's like a never-ending bad loop in my heart. Greater than tears filled her eyes as she got closer, needing answers. Greater than if you know anything, please tell me. The woman's eyes showed she felt something. Emma kept going, her voice stronger. "Why were you at Principal Nancy's house?" Greater than you can't be her daughter. I know she doesn't have one. The question hung there heavy with big secrets. The woman's breath stopped, like the world froze. Greater than after a long pause, she finally gave in, whispering, "Greater than you're right. I'm one of the missing kids. I survived." Greater than Emma's heart raced, shocked by what she heard. "What?" she gasped, trying to understand. Who are you?" Greater than the woman said. "My name's Chloe Harris." Greater than Emma knew that name. It was on a grave she saw every visit. Greater than a reminder of the awful day. Greater than you were in my daughter's class. Emma said, staying calm. "Did your family know you were alive?" Chloe shook her head, looking sad. Greater than no, that's why I come to the grave later. Greater than my parents always visit in the morning. Greater than Emma nodded, remembering seeing Chloe's parents early. Their faces were always so sad. Greater than why didn't you go home? She asked softly, curious. "I'm been messed up," Chloe said, her voice shaky. "It's a long story." Greater than Emma's heart hurt for Chloe, carrying such a heavy past. "Greater than you don't gotta tell me everything," she said kindly. "But please, I'm begging, go to the cops." Greater than tell them what you know. Greater than Chloe shook her head hard. No. Greater than the principal said I'd only hurt everybody. Emma was shocked. "Principal Nancy knew you were alive." Greater than, and she told you not to tell. She couldn't believe it. "Why would she do that?" Greater than Chloe's voice broke. "I trusted her." Greater than she was the only one who got my pain. Emma felt a big wave of feelings. "Chloe, not knowing is the worst pain," she said. "We're already hurting. It can't get worse. Greater than your story could help us all, give us peace." Greater than Chloe looked at Emma, checking if she meant it, really? Emma nodded hard, her heart aching for all the lost kids. "Yes, you'd help so many families." "Please, Chloe." Greater than after a long quiet, Emma's words hit home. Chloe took a shaky breath and grabbed her phone. "I think you're right," she said. "I've thought about this forever, but Nancy always stopped me." Greater than seeing you now. "I'll call the cops." Greater than her voice got stronger as they waited for the police. Emma's mind was racing. She felt desperate. "Chloe, please, do you know where my Lily is?" Greater than Chloe looked sad and nodded slowly, her eyes heavy. "What do you mean?" Emma asked, her heart pounding. "Where is she?" Greater than just then, Sophie and James walked over, looking for Emma. The air got tense as Chloe got scared, seeing more people. "Emma, what's happening?" Sophie asked, looking at Chloe. "Who's this?" Greater than Emma took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "Sophie, James, this is Chloe Harris," she said. "She was on the bus that day. She's alive." Greater than as Chloe was about to speak, police sirens sounded far away. Greater than the noise froze everything, and Chloe looked like she might run. But Emma's voice cut through. "Greater than Chloe, if you care about Lily and Mia, you gotta tell the truth." Her voice was strong but kind. Greater than Chloe stopped, looking at Emma, Sophie, and James. She saw their confusion and Emma's desperate eyes like a lifeline. "Greater than okay," Chloe said, her voice shaky but sure. "I'll talk." But at the police station, Greater than the cops showed up, making things feel urgent. Greater than they walked to Chloe, asking if she called them. Greater than what's your name? One cop asked. "Chloe Harris," she said. "I'm one of the kids who survived from 27 years ago." Her voice got steadier, saying words she'd held in forever. Greater than the cops looked at each other. Then one called the station. Greater than they asked for a check on her name. While waiting, the cops turned to Emma, Sophie, and James. Everybody needs to come to the station. One said firmly, "Greater than we can't have any trouble here." Chloe nodded, looking pale but ready, and followed the cops to their car. Emma walked with Sophie and James to their car, feeling pumped up in the car. Emma couldn't hold it in. "Greater than you won't believe this," she started, her voice shaking. She told Sophie and James everything, Chloe, the principal's secret, all of it. It felt like a big, scary puzzle with missing pieces. Greater than James frowned. "This is so weird. Greater than why would the principal hide something like that?" "Greater than I don't know," Emma said, "but Chloe's story must be huge. It could put Nancy in big trouble." At the police station, the air was tense. Emma saw Officer Carter, the cop she tried to call earlier. He looked up from his papers and came over fast. "Sorry I missed your call," he said. "I was on a big case." Emma felt annoyed. "But urgent." "Greater than officer, you gotta take this seriously," she said. "Chloe says she's a survivor. She's ready to talk." Greater than her heart was racing. "Greater than if that's true, we'll reopen the case." Officer Carter said, getting serious. He told Chloe to go to an interview room. Greater than Emma, Sophie, and James waited in the boring waiting area. Greater than as the door closed behind Chloe, Emma felt hope and fear. She prayed Chloe would be brave and tell the truth. She hoped this would finally give answers and peace, soon. The police station got busy. Cops were running around, talking loud, getting orders. The air felt full of excitement. Greater than Emma, Sophie, and James overheard cops say a team was going to Principal Nancy's house. They were gonna arrest her. Emma's heart jumped, and she looked at Sophie and James. This was it. Chloe must have told the cops everything. Then police sirens screamed as the team left. Greater than the room felt super tense. Less than an hour later, the cops came back. They had Principal Nancy in handcuffs. Greater than she walked with her head down, looking heavy. "Greater than I'm sorry," she mumbled. Looking at Emma, Sophie, and James, her voice was super quiet. But the cops pushed her forward. They took her to the booking area. Greater than hours passed as Emma, Sophie, and James waited quietly. Each was lost in their thoughts about what happened. Then a cop went into Chloe's room. Emma leaned close, trying to hear the quiet talk. She heard the cop say something about Nancy's statement being ready. She confessed the whole truth. Greater than soon, the cop came out and called Emma, Sophie, and James. Their hearts raced as they went to the room where Chloe was. Chloe looked relieved but nervous. Greater than the room felt full of urgency. The cop got right to it, explaining the case. Greater than Principal Green confessed. He said, serious but sad. Greater than she planned the whole class trip. Greater than she set up the teacher, Mr. Carter, to look guilty. Greater than she owed money she couldn't pay, and bad people threatened her family. Greater than Emma's breath stopped as the cop kept going. Greater than the trip was supposed to go to Sunny Park, but it was messed up. Greater than Principal Green worked with kidnappers, and the driver died. We never found his body, like you know from before. Greater than then they took the teacher and kids to Mexico's border. Greater than all the kids were taken and sent to another country. Greater than they were forced into bad stuff, like selling their organs. Emma's heart sank as the cop looked grim. Greater than this is hard, but I gotta tell you everything. Greater than the girl students were hurt bad by bad guys in Mexico. Greater than the boy students. He paused, swallowing hard. Greater than were sold far away to work as kids. The words felt heavy, making Emma feel sick. She looked at Sophie and James, who looked shocked too. Their faces were pale, taking in the awful news. Chloe sat there, looking down, then spoke to Emma and Sophie. I was the only one who got out alive, she whispered. Her voice shook with old memories. 12 years ago, I escaped from the man who bought me. He forced me into bad stuff. Greater than even after I got free, I was too scared to face my parents. Greater than her eyes looked at Emma and James, full of shame and pain. That's when I found Principal Green. Greater than she helped me start over, paid for my place and my stuff. Greater than but I had to keep quiet, or it'd hurt the families more. Greater than Emma's heart raced, hearing Chloe's story. She couldn't believe Principal Green kept Chloe silent like that. What about the other kids? Did anyone else make it? Greater than my Lily? Emma asked, desperate. Greater than Chloe shook her head slowly, her voice super quiet. Greater than I don't know about the others. We were split up. Greater than but I remember Lily and Mia didn't make it. Greater than Lily died the day they took us, from too much of a drug. Greater than Mia was next. They messed up her dose too. Emma and Sophie cried hard, their sadness hitting like a wave. Chloe felt bad, her heart hurting for their pain. I'm so sorry, she said, her voice breaking. This is what I was scared of. Principal Nancy was right. Greater than but Emma wiped her tears and shook her head. You did the right thing, Chloe, she said firmly. This hurts, but now we know. We can start healing. Greater than the cop, listening closely, spoke up. With this new info, we can reopen the case. Greater than thanks to you, Chloe, we might find other kids. Greater than Emma's heart raced. What happens now? She asked quietly. Greater than we're reopening the case right away, the cop said. We're charging Nancy Green and talking to Mexico's cops. Chloe, we know you've been through a lot. Greater than we won't punish you for staying quiet. Greater than, but we're offering you protection since the bad guys might look for you. Greater than the cop paused, looking softer at Emma, Sophie, and James. I know this is tough, having hope after so long, only to. He stopped, not knowing what to say. Emma nodded, tears in her eyes. At least now we know, she said softly. After all these years, we know what happened to our kids. The other families need to know too. Greater than the cops promised to tell the other families. The case was open again. As they got ready to leave the station, Chloe came out of the room. She looked tired, her face pale, but a bit lighter, like a big weight was gone. Greater than thank you, she said to Emma, her voice full of feeling. For believing me, for helping me be brave to talk. Greater than Emma hugged her, feeling close to this woman who survived so much. Greater than thank you for telling the truth, she whispered. Greater than you gave us all a chance to find peace. As Emma, Sophie, and James left the station, it was getting dark. Emma felt a mix of feelings. There was sadness, a new wave for the daughter she lost, but also a calm, like a story finally ending. She looked at Sophie and James, seeing the same feelings in their eyes. They'd lived with not knowing for 27 years. The truth hurt, but it also felt like a relief. What now? Sophie asked quietly in the parking lot. The day's big stuff weighed on them. Emma took a deep breath, looking at the stars starting to show. Now, she said, her voice steady. Greater than we honor our kids by making sure justice happens. Greater than, and we help Chloe live the life she was robbed of. Greater than as they went home, Emma felt something change inside. Greater than the sadness was still there, always with her. But now she had a new purpose. She wanted to see this through for Lily, Mia, all the kids lost, and for Chloe, who survived against all odds. Emma quietly promised to keep fighting for the full truth, until everyone who did wrong was caught. The road ahead would be long and hard, but for the first time in 27 years, Emma felt on the right path, to answers and maybe, one day, to real peace.